it's me for Lash Lawn Care. So today we put in the engine and we have to get this work done. So bye.
Hi everyone, Brandon with Burns Lawn Care. Thanks for tuning in for another one of our videos. This video is going to show you how we put the heads together on a Kawasaki FX730V. As you can see, I've already done one head off camera and got that assembled. But I do have the other head here that needs to be gone through completely. We're going to get it cleaned up. We're going to do we're going to lap the valves on it. And I'll show you how it's done. So before we get started, I just want to show you a little something. This is a parts tray. I got it from Harbor Freight. Very inexpensive. It does have magnets on it. I ended up painting it white so I could see the hardware and stuff that I put in it, just to make it a little easier. So there's a little tip for you guys. What we're going to do first is we're going to take the valves out of this. We're going to collapse these valve springs here and take this off. And then we'll take this gasket off here, this valve cover gasket. And then what we'll do is, once these valves are out, we'll clean up all this stuff here, all this carbon buildup, and then we'll lap the valves. So let me show you how we take the valves apart. Okay, guys, so first step, what we're gonna do is, we're gonna collapse this valve spring here. And a little trick, the way I do it is, I take a wrench and I put it underneath the cylinder head. And I'll have it resting just like this. So this creates like a backing for the valve itself. And then what I can do is I can actually just take another wrench like this, press down, and see how that broke free like that? See how the retainer clip just fell out? That's how I take the valves and springs off. Just like that. Okay, I don't have a valve spring compressor tool, so it's kind of like the poor man's way of doing it, but hey, it works fine. There's one. There's two. There it is. Alright, now we can take this valve out. So, real quick, these here are valve seals. We will end up replacing these, but not yet. Let's get the spark plug out. We will put new plugs in it. Alright, now we got the valves out. You can see here there's a lot of carbon buildup, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this inside our parts washer here. I'm going to take a wire brush, clean out all the gunk, and then what we'll do is we will lap the valves. We're going to relap the valves, and I'll show you how we do that. But first things first, let's get this thing cleaned up. So I got this little wire brush here. Works great for cleaning out little tight areas. This is just parts washing fluid that I'm using, nothing special. What I'll do is, with the brush and the solvent, I'll loosen up all the gunk in here. And I'll show you the next thing I do, the next little trick to help cut down some of the cleaning time and break up all the carbon that's on here. Alright, so what I have here is just a drill with a little wire brush attachment on it. And at a low speed, I'll just take this, just like this, to clean up all the carbon residue that's on there. You don't have to go crazy with this. And you don't want to go so hard to the point where you actually score the aluminum. Just real light pressure. See how it's cleaning it all up, getting all that gunk out of there? That's what you want. Going very lightly. Alright, so we got this cylinder head fairly clean here. Next thing I'm going to do is, see these valves? They're a little dirty. I'm going to lightly take the wire wheel to them on the drill. Very lightly. See all the carbon buildup? We want to get that off. So same thing, very light pressure. You don't need to go crazy with the pressure. We want to clean up all that carbon. Alright guys, so I got the valves cleaned up with the wire brush. What we're going to do now is we're going to lap the valves in. And how you do it is you take some valve grinding compound here and you put it on the valve itself. And what it is basically it's a gritty type paste, almost like a coarse paste. And what happens is when you spin this around, it'll actually cut a new edge in on the valve itself. So let me show you how that works. So this valve goes right here. Now a little trick I do is I take my cordless drill, lock it onto the shaft. Good friend of mine, Ken from KLC, taught me this trick. Get it over here, babe. And I'm going to spin it both directions at low RPM. You hear that noise? That's the paste grinding a new edge on the valve, a new seat on the valve. That's what you want to hear. So now I'm going to change directions of the drill. Go the other way with it. And one more direction the other way. Okay. Now when I pull this valve out, you won't be able to tell because it has paste on it, but as soon as I wipe it off, you're going to see a nice freshly ground edge on the valve. Nice seat. You guys see that? So we're going to repeat that process. This is the one we just did. We're going to repeat that process on this side as well with the other valve. So guys, I got the valve grinding compound on the other valve here. Let's stick it in the valve guide. Drop it in, just like that. Attach our drill. Grind it out. All right. Can you guys see that? Is the camera picking that up? Nice, fresh beveled seat that we just ground on there. That's what you want to see. Alright, so now Renee, get a shot of this. See how we have all this residue inside the head? We're going to put it back in the parts washer and we're going to clean all that out, make sure it's clean, and then we can put the valves back in. Alright, so we got the cylinder head clean. I blew it out with the blow gun, get everything as clean as I could. So before we put the valves in it, let's take these old valve seals out. And what you do is you just take a pair of pliers like this and gently rock them and they come right out. Alright, so we have a new Kawasaki valve seal here. I got it out of the package in my hand. What you do is, I like to lube it up a little bit. Some WD-40. Just gonna take that and press it on, just like that. There's one. Let's do the other one. Just like that. Alright, so we got the new valve seals in. We're ready to install this valve here. So prior to assembly, spray a little assembly lube on it. In my case, it's WD-40. Stick it in. Fits in there nicely. Alright, next step, since the valve's in, we can put the spring on. Just like that. And then the top portion, the retainer here, and then the valve stem guides. See this taper? See how it kind of tapers down at the bottom? That goes facing down. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my wrench, compress the spring, and these little guides here should lock onto the shaft of the valve itself. Okay. Alright, that's on there. So what I like to do is move the valve up and down, make sure that those are locked on the shaft, and they are. So we're going to repeat the process on the next side, and then we can move on. Alright, sometimes they can be a pain in the butt, but we got it. Just spin them, make sure they're good, and they are. Alright, so now the valves are in with the valve seals, new valve seals. And let's go on to the next step. Alright, so here's the completed head. It's ready to go on the engine block now. But this is what you should have. This is what it should look like before you install. Should be nice and clean. Mating surface is clean. Where the valves are going to sit in their grooves, you want to make sure that's all clean. And yeah, we're good to go. So let's go ahead and put this on the cylinder head on the block now. All right, guys. So this is the Kawasaki head gasket. It can only go on one way. If you try to put it on backwards, see how it doesn't line up. It won't work. It goes on just like this. Lines up with the dowel pins, and then you can take your cylinder head, line the head up with the dowel pins, and it goes on just like that. So here I have in my hand cylinder head bolts. If you notice, most of them are the same size besides two of them. You have two of them here that are shorter. Now the long ones are going to go in the upper holes, okay? And the short ones, the two short ones, are going to go in the lower holes. That's how you know that what you have going on is correct. So the big ones in the upper holes, the small ones in the lower holes. All right, so I'm going to tighten these up, and I'm going to tighten them up in a cross pattern. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get this one here snug, then I'm going to move down to this one, get that one snug, then I'll move to this one and get this one snug, and then this one, and then I'll finish off with this one. And then after they're all snug, I'll torque them to the appropriate torque specs. Alright guys, so I got the bolts torqued in to where they're supposed to be. And what I did off camera was I put the push rods in and got them lined up with the groove on the lifters. I wouldn't be able to show you on video anyway because the lifters are deep down inside of the cylinder head here. They're actually inside the engine block. But what I did was I got the push rods ready, got them lined up, and we're ready to put the rocker arms on. So the next step here is let's put this rocker arm support back on where that goes. That goes like this. Okay. Now we can take our rocker arm, spray a little oil on the ends. Now, as you can see, this push rod is not going to go on this rocker arm. So I need to raise it up. There's two ways of doing it. I could raise it up by doing this, or I could have just turned the engine over manually. And what I need to do actually is turn the motor over manually to get that lined up. So let's do that now. Alright, so when I cranked the motor over, it took the tension off of the push rod and I was able to put this rocker arm on. Now this jam nut here, we're going to put it on, but we're going to leave it loose for now until we set the valves. So now let's do the other side. Alright, so this isn't going to go on all the way, so what I need to do is repeat the process on this side as well. So I'm going to crank the engine over. See that rocker arm going down now? That's what you want to see. I'll go down a little more. Okay. And voila, that's done. All right, guys, so now that we got the rocker arms on loosely, we're going to set the valve lash here on this engine. The Kawasaki manual calls for 4 thousandths. So what you do is you stick a feeler gauge in here, okay, and you tighten this bolt right here until you feel a little bit of resistance on this feeler gauge at 4 thousandths. See, this is a 4 thousandths feeler gauge. And when you tighten this bolt, this rocker arm tightens up. It moves down and tightens up more, okay? If you loosen the bolt, it loosens it. And all this nut does is lock in the position of the rocker arm once you got it to where you want. All right, so with the 4/1000 gauge, piston's at top dead center. You can see it right there. You can see it right inside there. Stick the 4/1000 gauge in there. As you tighten this bolt, this rocker arm will go down. See how it won't even move anymore? It's too tight though. So I'm just gonna crack this a hair. See how it's kind of like there's a little resistance on the feeler gauge? See the mark on it? That's what you want. That's a perfect 4/1000 right there. So now that I got that set, I can tighten this jam nut here, and that'll lock my setting in. And there you have it. 4/1000. Alright guys, next step is putting the valve covers on. This is a new Kawasaki valve cover gasket. Get them started on a cross pattern so the gasket isn't tempted to move on us. Alright guys, that's going to wrap it up for this video. This completes the cylinder heads installation on this Kawasaki FX730V here. On the next video, I'll show you how we put the stator on, we'll put the flywheel on, we'll put the coils on, and then we'll get the intake manifold back on. But for now, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch our videos. If you like what you see, please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you on the next video. Thanks, guys.